Welcome to Rettals Pub, where we talk about the spirits while partaking of spirits. Here are your hosts, Nate and Mason.
So, what are you drinking today?
Right now I'm drinking Jameson.
Yeah. Nature's Stream.
If I drink all of that, then I have Maker's Mark to
Maker's Mark is good.
to do that. And I'm also drinking non-alcohol, which is Ken. I don't know if I'm supposed to show the picture of it. It might get me in trouble, but I don't really care. It doesn't taste that great, but it's supposed to be a nootropic. So we'll see if I can actually talk better today. What about you?
I got my old-fashioned, my Jim Beam vanilla is always my go-to. I'm addicted to it. So anytime I go to Specs, it's always, when I complete one bottle, I get another bottle.
Celeste went last night. We looked at Specs to find, it's the Moonshine Company. It's the guys that
Smokies, bro.
Yeah, but they have a whiskey. They have a whiskey that's vanilla and cream or something like that. She wanted to try it, so we didn't. They didn't have it in stock, but
I like Old Smoky's Moonshine. I like their mocha cream, right? It's kind of like, it's like if you drank a Yoo-Hoo with paint thinner, that would be the flavor.
that's just gross.
It's amazing.
Yeah, no, I don't do coffee.
It's amazing.
Not anything except unless I just absolutely have to drink it.
One night, I bought a jar, right? Because the medium mason jar, and was hanging around the house, and I had 3/4 of that bottle of that jar tossed back before I even knew it.
Yeah, and then you got knocked out, didn't you?
No, I started giggling because my wife was watching a romantic comedy. We were watching a romantic comedy, and I started giggling, and I've never been drunk, and that's when I was like, yeah, I've reached my limit, right? But I slept wonderfully. Man, I slept wonderfully.
No, so we looked for it. We couldn't find it, so we'll see. Hopefully this Ken stuff will, K-I-N for those who are listening, will actually make me think a little bit better today.
Like Nathan has a problem thinking.
No, this is true. Sometimes I need to drink in order not to think.
Now, for me, usually when I record, I take a brain supplement because I'm diagnosed ADD, ADHD, dyslexic, anxiety, right? So I usually take some generic brand brain supplement. Totally forgot that today. So
this should be fun.
This is going to be fun. So I'm not medicated, and I'm drinking my Jim Beam vanilla. So I think Nate in my role is going to it's going to be reversed.
Well, I think, but no.
Squirrel.
Yeah, exactly. Well, my big problem is that I don't have any plans at all. Normally we have some sort of plan. I don't even know what the hell we're going to talk about.
So I've been thinking about it for a while, and we've talked about the Hoogie Boogie stuff, right? The hippie stuff. Now, granted, you have to understand that Nate the Great, or Nate the Greatest.
No, the Great Nate.
The Great Nate.
Damn.
Whatever. So, Nate and I were discussing this week. Nate is very logical, right? A plus B equals C. 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 plus 8 is 16. And if you watch us on YouTube, you'll understand that I'm very calm, and Nate here is very passionate. Very passionate. It's hard to control that. But in retrospect, what you do not see is Nate is very calm, and I'm the hippie fairy that's tiptoeing through the tulips when it comes to spiritual stuff, because I like to explore, right? So there's not a cave that I won't go into spiritually. There's not a bush that I will not smoke, right? So yeah.
You smoking bush now?
No, well, I have smoked chamomile tea before.
I don't think that's what they call it these days. It's
no, for real.
Smoking bush. That's what it's called.
It finally hit. It finally hit. I'm a little slow. So I have smoked chamomile tea, and I have smoked peppermint tea leaves. Now that stuff works. Works.
What's the benefit of that?
Chamomile helps you to relax, to focus, right? So, and also if you're amped up with anxiety, chamomile tea helps a lot. It calms the nerves, it calms the body, it relaxes the muscles. But you also have to understand the fastest way to get it into the system is through smoke, right? So there was a time that I was going through some anxiety before my spiritual awakening, which I actually think that I went through the spiritual awakening, the anxiety to lead me into the spiritual awakening. So I was doing some research, and one day I was just in a full-on panic. And I went to, Brookshire Brothers. It's always got a smoke, barn, right? And I went in there and said, hey, y'all got a tobacco pipe? And they were like, yeah, we've got several. So I bought one for like $10. Went into the store because I was doing some research on herbs, right? And went in, bought me a box of chamomile, brought it home, dumped a couple bags out, stirred it up. I didn't know what I was doing. And packed the pipe and lit that booger up. And I felt it back here in the back of my head.
Yeah, I bet you felt it.
I felt it hit my head. And, dude, that was like a wonderful feeling. It hit fast.
Well, I know chamomile tea is also good for like blood pressure.
Yep.
Yeah, so I actually do chamomile tea and a couple of others at work. I'll mix them all up in one batch of tea and sip on it. So I know that's a thing. So anyway, what are we going to talk about? I mean, I know we done took an offshoot there.
So we can let's talk about heathenry.
Okay.
Right? Because I remember 2012, 2013, something like that. Any of my spiritual pursuits starts out of curiosity because I don't know. And I was bored and going through a slump with Christianity. I'm always going through slumps with Christianity. The deal is with Christianity, I've been thinking about this. The deal about Christianity is, with me personally, I comply with community guidelines, right? I join a community, I comply with community guidelines until I get either tired of it because it's fake, or I get tired of the bullshit, right? And I just I can no longer stomach the fake, right? So then I just start bucking the system and, acting out.
Yeah.
So I just can't.
I guess my problem was I always hated community guidelines.
Exactly.
And I'm going to push it as far as I can.
You want to push that envelope. Yeah. I get that.
I remember when I was in seminary, I got in trouble, really. This is a true story. I got in trouble because I wore a colorful shirt to picture day. Like, everybody else was wearing white shirts, and I wore a teal green. This was early 90s, so that kind of... Oh, yeah, I got pulled aside and told to go change hairs. Like, seriously.
Are you serious?
I'm serious. I got pulled aside.
That's so stupid.
It was the president. You know who I'm talking about. He pulled me over. He was like, why are you wearing that shirt? I'm like, y'all said we could be colorful. He was like, we were talking to the women. I'm like, well, you didn't specify.
Oh,
I wanted to be colorful in my shirt.
Oh, my God. That's so stupid.
He made me go change. I had to go change into a white shirt, which I didn't have any clean, so I wore an old one that was wrinkly. I mean, it was just bad. I mean, that one was at least ironed and washed.
Well, you complied with community guidelines. What gets me, and this is just a rant. Now I'm chasing a rabbit. So, what gets me is I can't be around people that are like, they read something, a quote, right, in a book or a meme, and they're just like rocked by it, right? My God, right? And they're just like, oh, I'm so crushed, right? This is like rock my world, and there's a bunch of cry faces, and it's just like,
yeah, it's that ugly cry stuff.
That's ego based. Like, shut up, right? Nobody believes that.
Yeah. I mean, I actually do read stuff that I'm like, man, that's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I may share it with a few people that I think it's important to. But yeah, I'm not saying no, the community guidelines, I've never, ever really felt like I should be following them. I just, even at work, I have a hard time with the rules that you got to look a certain way and dress a certain way. Not that they're strict at work. I mean, I get to wear jeans and a shirt. I can wear a t-shirt with no writing on it if I want to. So I've got a pretty lenient structure. But like when I was at the hospital, you know, it was, you had to wear certain things, and so I had to at least wear khakis. I found some jeans that were khaki, and that's what I wore because those were comfortable. I'm not wearing fucking khaki pants because they're uncomfortable. And so I think Kendall actually has them now. Yeah, the Duke actually has those pants now. I'll cut your name out so nobody knows who you are. And so anyway, so let me ask you a question. I'm gonna throw. Okay, so I'm gonna throw something.
Wait. I gave you ample warning about question day.
I'm not even. You'll know wrong. You'll be appreciative.
I gotta drown this right now.
Yeah. You might not drink. Hey, guys, just so you know, he's got like 6 fingers in that fucking glass of Jim Beam. He's probably not gonna be able to drive home.
Before you know it, I'm just gonna be like laid back. Yeah. I'm gonna be laid back.
He's gonna be slurring his words and shit. And we're at like 9 a.m, so he's gonna be drunk at 9. He's an alcoholic. I mean, that's what we're calling it.
But I packed my stomach full of food. Hopefully that works.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. That's a lot of drink. Anyway, so let's
Nate is not man enough to take.
No, bro. I drank a whole glass, and by whole glass, the whole glass. So everybody, this is my glass. I had the whole glass full of bourbon, and I drank it. And talk about giggling. No, I wasn't giggling. I was out cackling at this fucking stupid movie we were watching, like laughing hard, and I was like, not good. It was not a good thing at all, because you know I tend to be a little bit more free with my language, and the filter drops off, and then we're all off. It's not good. It's not good.
I'm sorry. Okay.
So okay, you wanted to talk heathenry, but before we go there, I'm going to ask you a question. So he asked me a few questions a few episodes ago. I'm supposed to ask him a question. So we started the podcast in what, April?
Yes.
Okay, so just so everybody knows, as of yesterday, we had 444 downloads total.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Thank you so much.
And our numbers dropped in July, but now they're back up above where they were. So we're already this month more than what we've ever been, and we're still got a week left in the month. So thank you guys for listening. That said, what kind of influence has the podcast had on your life? In everyday life.
Oh, Jesus. So
no, I'm Nathan. That's the Duke. Nate and the Duke, not Jesus.
The influence that the podcast has had in my life.
I got it.
So yeah, it's been negative. I've had negative responses by pretty much 90% of my spiritual community reacting negatively to me presenting myself in an authentic manner. When it comes to my authentic spiritual practices, that received a lot of flack. The use of foul language primarily, right? And the alcohol, right? There has been certain leaders that have built sermons. Because you know that shit's gonna happen, right? So yeah, driving up here, I was actually thinking about the experiences that I've had, and there was one primarily that just sits in my crawl. You know, if you're from East Texas, it just like locked in, right? So there was a particular week, I want to say June, and I want to say May, because it started getting hot in June, right? So I was outside observing my now dead herbal garden, because I watered, I planted like Paul, and I watered like, Cephas, but it just didn't. It didn't take.
Mm-hmm.
So I was sitting outside enjoying the look of because they grew really well, right? My herbs grew because I had sage, I had rosemary, and I want to say thyme because of the song, but no, I had something else. Or oregano, because oregano is really good for your blood pressure and stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm outside, and I had already been talking about reincarnation, and I had been public on one of my social media platforms, and a little bit, just tidbit stuff, right? And I mentioned reincarnation, and the saints praying, right? Our ancestors praying for us, but I referred to that in context was within the saints, right? So I got a call from a young lady in our church, and she had questions, right? Because she'd been reading my posts, and she's like, I've got some questions because I've never heard this before. So I'm like, awesome, right? So I'm naive. I'm very naive when it comes to cult practices, right? So they come in with a false feint and then like come in with a right hook, right? So it was a feint. And she was like, I want to know about this. So she started asking questions about reincarnation. Where is that in scripture? So, sure, I mentioned, John the Baptist being Elijah, Jesus at Caesarea Philippi, right? And what was the other? The blind man, right, at the gate, right? He was born sin. So did he sin in a previous life for him to be blind now? So the conversation started very productively. It was very productive. And she's like, okay, I'm gonna go. I've got to go. Got to take care of some stuff. So she disconnected, right? So I was like, I leaned back. I've got my black leaf tea, my Earl Grey tea, right? Captain Picard, Star Trek, Earl Grey hot. And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden my phone like text came in, like bing, 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 right? I was like, wow, that's weird. So I got my phone, opened it. Well, it was this young lady telling me that she had a vision. And within the vision, so in the scripture, it talks about a narrow way and a broad way, right? And we all need to be on the narrow way, right? She had a vision that there was a narrow way, and it was the path to the kingdom of heaven, right? And I was on this path, right? And along this path were doors, right? And she saw me go into these doors off the path. I would take the path, and then I would go into this closet door, right? But I would come out further along the path out of another door. So you would think that's a good thing, right? So I would go into this door, and then I would come out further along the path out of another door. And I would do this, right? I would go into another door, go down the path, I'd come down, right? So technically I'm not leaving the path, right? I'm kind of advancing along the path through these doors is the way I'm reading it. And she begins to rant, and I've still got these screenshots, right, saved. So she's ranting that I am leaving the path of the kingdom of heaven to pursue inappropriate spiritual practices. But she's not really realizing that though I'm pursuing these other practices, it's putting me along the path.
It's putting you further
along, right?
It's and like you're cheating.
Yes, I found these cheat codes. And she's like, you need to stay on the path. And you need to quit getting bored with your spirituality. And you need to remain on the path and pursue God. Basically, it was implied you need to pursue God like the rest of us, right? So the second text was, I had a dream, and there was... Same person, right? Very next text, right? There was a darkness around me, right? And the reason I'm grinning is the story's going to progress. So there's a darkness around me. And she's praying for my soul, right? And I'm like, hey, sure, pray for me. I need the prayer, right? If you got a burden, pray, right? Because I'm complying within community guidelines, right? Pray for me, And there's a darkness around me. But the Lord didn't tell her what that darkness was. No. She knows what the darkness is, but the Lord didn't release her to tell me what that darkness is because, she needs to hold that knowledge, right? Yeah, it's very confusing. So, case in point, during that time, I deal with high blood pressure. And with that high blood pressure comes migraines. So it's a medical thing. So I had been dealing with severe blood pressure during that time. So I had a migraine for 2 weeks solid, right? So, and I promise I'm going somewhere. So there's a darkness around me. And I'm dealing with high blood pressure and migraines. Like stroke level blood pressure, right? So I go to church, and a leader corners me, like literally corners me up against a wall. And he has pause about me because I'm using curse words. Not the point that I'm talking about reincarnation.
Or witchcraft.
Yeah. Or spirit guides.
Or any of the other demonic
or meditation.
Yeah.
The only focus is you're using cuss words, right? Now, I've tried to stay calm, right? Number one, you got me cornered up. Number two, you're talking to me about foul language, but there's a whole list of other things way outside the guidelines that you don't want to talk to me about. So I'm being respectful because that's how I am. Listening to him, and he gets very concerned, right? And he says, I see you surrounded by darkness, and I'm really concerned for your soul. Do you know what that darkness is? And I'm like, I think it's my blood pressure, right? And I'm like, well, I think it's medical because I'm dealing with some high blood pressure right now. And he's like, no, that's not it. So, being the slatter, I said, would you mind telling me what it is? Because if you've seen a darkness, you've evidently got it labeled, and then you need to tell me what it is. Do you know what it is? No, I'm not going to tell you. I'm like, yeah, you've been networking with little Missy over there, and both of y'all have been talking about this darkness.
So it sounds to me like nobody knows what the darkness is.
Nobody knows what it is. So I find that funny. So the very next day, I get a phone call from an elder. I call him an elder, a wise man, older man. And he actually calls me, and he's like, hey, look, you've been on my mind. I rely on this guy spiritually, right? He's like, hey, man, you've been on my mind a lot here lately. And I've been seeing a darkness around you. And I would really like to know you're okay. I'm like, well, I'm dealing with something medically right now. I'm dealing with my high blood pressure. I'm stroke level blood pressure right now, and I'm trying to fight to get it down. And I've been dealing with migraines. And he said, oh, no. Let me rephrase that. I didn't tell him anything. That's what it was. I didn't tell him anything. Is everything okay? I see a darkness around you. I said, well, I'm kind of curious because, now we've got 3 people talking about a darkness around me. And I said, what is it? What is this darkness around me? And he's like, oh, it's medical. Are you okay? And I says, well, I've been dealing with my high blood pressure, my migraines. I'm stroke level blood pressure right now. And he's like, yeah, man, that's totally it. It's totally medical. So I'm like, okay, 3 people's telling me that I'm surrounded by darkness. 2 people can't even label it or refuse to label it as what it truly is.
Or maybe they do know what it is and they refuse to actually say that it's what it is.
To say what it is,
so that you'll
scare me.
So that you'll get back into line with the community guidelines.
Yeah, community guidelines.
So so yeah, maybe I don't need to go there.
So I have received very much flack. Now, when I started the podcast, for anybody listening, I was a Christian minister. I was diagnosed Christian.
Yeah, you were diagnosed. I was diagnosed Christian.
That's a diagnosis.
Oh my God!
Right, so
heathenry is the solution.
Oh me! Oh my God! Yeah, I was an ordained minister in 2 organizations, 2 different Christian organizations. And I was like, that's bullshit. So I joined a church because I was pursuing that. I thought, that was what I needed to do, right? Because I'm good at theology, right? So I was a teacher in a particular community. and a very good biblical teacher. I can brag on myself. I'm really good because I love to study. I love to read. So I'm always collecting, right? I can build mediocre lessons, but I think they're pretty good, right? So I invest a lot of time in them. When I started the podcast, I went to the pastor and the assistant pastor, and I was just blatantly obvious. I was just open. I was like, hey, I have an opportunity to join a podcast, and it is totally against community guidelines. And there's going to be subjects and conversations that's going to be outside Christian norms. And I would like your permission to step down, because within Christianity, it's always permission, right? And I want to step down. It's basically what it is. Well, why do you want to step down? Well, because like I stated earlier, this content is going to be explicit and outside traditional Christianity.
Yeah.
And I don't want this to come back on the church. I don't want the church to be negatively affected by this. I don't want leadership, because I've got a lot of respect for the leadership. I have a lot of respect for the community, even still, the stuff that I've received is just minute people, right? But the community as a whole, 90% as a whole, is a beautiful community. And I don't want this to come back on them. So then there was a compromise. Stay on a month. And then, because they didn't think this would actually blast off like it did. And so I complied. It's like, okay, I just still wanted out. I wanted off of leadership. And then the explicitness, the subject content that we talk about. And finally, about 2 weeks ago, it was finally understood what I was actually trying to tell them. I don't know why they weren't, understanding what I was trying to say. But he was like, yeah, we need to completely sever. We need to sever this. You're no longer on leadership, no longer on any community volunteer teams. It's like, well, that's what I was trying to say back in April, right? So, yeah.
I mean, we're a quarter of a month away, or from starting. Mm-hmm. So they just didn't take you at your word? I mean,
they just thought they thought this would never get off the ground.
Oh.
They had no...
You realize how easy it is to keep a podcast going.
Yes.
I mean, hell, we don't even have to have listeners and still do a podcast.
We can still post stuff.
So, anyway, I was just curious how that was going. For me, I come from it. I'm coming at it without any community guidelines that I need to worry about. My stuff is primarily, my gotcha is going to be, and I still haven't done it, is posting stuff on Facebook about where I'm at.
Yeah.
Mostly because I fucking hate Facebook.
Yeah.
We've got a page. I haven't posted on it. I need to be more committed to that. But we've started posting TikToks. So if you guys are on
Check us out on TikTok.
Yeah, it's Rettals Pub. Just do a search at Rettals Pub. It started last week. I do one about every 2 days or so, and we're actually getting anywhere from 275 to 350 views on every video. I don't know if you've noticed that.
I have.
We've went from like 4 followers, now we're up to 21. Mm-hmm. In my case, a lady from work found me somehow.
See, with me, because I actually take from Rettals Pub, I download it and then put it on my own page and say, hey, advertise the podcast. I'm showing up on people's For You page, friends of mine.
Yeah.
Real friends.
Yeah.
Right. And they're like, hey, you showed up on my For You page.
Yeah. So she started following me. My boss is following me. I actually showed her. But I've just kind of not, I'm the kind of person that I prefer to let things grow organically as much as possible, just to see what it can do on its own, without any manipulation. Now that's not great for the listening, growth, but, we're doing pretty good. I mean, we get 15 or 20, downloads per episode for the first 2 weeks. We're averaging about 27, 28 downloads for the life of the download so far. That'll continue to grow. But so I didn't have any gotchas. Mine was more like, do I really want to do this? Yeah. And put myself out there and talk about things that I was so far against a year and a half ago that was completely against all this stuff, and now I'm like, yeah, we're going to have that conversation.
I am driven for this podcast. I believe in this podcast, and the amount of emotional trauma that I've endured the past since April from certain people has fueled my bond to this, that I'm dedicated.
Well, I think that's part of our genetics.
Yeah.
You don't tell me I can't do something.
Right.
Or that something.
Fuck it.
Because I'm going to fucking do it until I die now.
That's right.
Period. So nothing you do is going to make me stop at this point. Anyway, so I was just curious as to what that was going on.
I was getting texts, messages. I've never get a phone call. The young lady, she was the only phone call I've gotten. But I've pretty much gotten. Well, I did get a couple phone calls, but yeah, I mean, it's just.
Of course, I'm gonna say a name. We've got Alexis at work. She works with me. She's listened to every podcast, and
Thank you, Alexis.
She listens to it faithfully. And in fact, she sent us a question. We have a podcast episode dedicated directly to her. So she's always been very encouraging about it, and I'll send her the numbers, and she's just about as excited, probably more so than I am. That's just kind of her personality. Yeah. She's pretty cool like that. But
I've got close friends that grew up in the UPC along with me that listen. They're out of Dallas, and very grateful for them. So shout out to Aaron and Dusty and Melly. Thank you, Melly. And also my bestie, Amanda. She's over in Ohio? Yeah.
Foreigner. She's a foreigner. Amanda, you're a foreigner. Just saying.
She was in Oregon for a little bit, and
you're a traitor against us Texans, because I know you were raised in Texas.
She was.
Yeah. So
she was in the large metropolis of Wells, Texas.
Yeah. She's going to be on an episode.
She is.
Soon, huh?
She's going to come on. Very excited about that. She's excited about it.
Well, we need to probably do that next time or the time after.
Because we've got to do Sissy.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, she'll hold us hostage.
She'll kill us all.
She will.
She won't. I'm joking. So FBI, don't come see me.
So for me, the one I've studied other philosophies and other religions. That's what I do.
Oh, we're changing subjects.
Well, we're doing a segue.
We're doing a segue into a different episode.
We're doing an ADD segue. I thought it was smooth, to be honest with you.
No, not really. That's what you thought.
That's what I thought. So that's me without my meds. Oh, this is smooth. And then
this is not going to be. This is going to be. I'm sorry, guys. I don't even know what we're going to call these episodes. That may be the shotgun approach or something, because both he and I are going to be all over the place. Like, he normally keeps me straight on something, and this time we're both.
Just so everybody sees. So I have a portfolio here, and these are notes that I maintain. And I tried.
He wrote those today. I watched him do it.
I tried to keep an outline, and then as the podcast progresses, I take notes along this. But Nathan is like a Barrett automatic rifle, right? And just
I don't know that Barrett has an automatic rifle.
Browning,
a bar.
Yeah, right. Pow, pow, pow. So
he's not a weapons guy.
I'm not. I'm a lover. Right.
That's way more than I wanted to know.
Yeah.
Up next on Rettals Pub.
So this is not that explicit. So I try to take notes and then try to rein in the conversation, but it never.
I take off.
It never happens. So anyway, I study philosophy. I love studying religions. I think religions are fascinating. So my primary ones that I will review is Buddhism, Christianity, of course, the different sects of Christianity, Islam. Islam's very interesting. But the religion or the practice, let me just say that, the practice that actually set a root within me was heathenry. Heathenism.
Heathenry.
Heathenry.
You had it right.
Heathenry. I love the heathen practice. It's a scary ass religion. If you do the past, you're right, back in the days, right? It was.
I think it's scary because it's not. It's if I'm going down a rabbit hole, it's we have Western civilization, which has made everything nice and clean and pretty. I don't think it's necessarily scary unless you've been stuck in the nice, clean, and
Correct.
pretty. In the Christian, choir-laden, nice pews and all that shit. Then you start seeing somebody sacrificing chickens and shit. Yeah, it's gonna be scary. And they don't sacrifice chickens. I don't actually think.
Well, they burn people at the stake.
Yeah, they
right?
burn people at stake. I follow several heathenry people. I mean, it's funny, but yeah, I won't say how I came across heathenry. I came across it a very roundabout way.
Nathan came about it from watching the television show Vikings.
I did
That's
not.
what it was.
It's a great show, though. But no, that's not where I came
It
to.
was. Don't let him lie to you.
I
It
did
was
like the
He
storyline.
loved the aesthetics and the costume and the cosplay.
Yeah.
Right.
I did like in that movie or that show the story of the Christian guy that was captured by the pagan, and then he reminded me of even though I wasn't Christian. Yeah, even though I wasn't Christian at the time, he reminded me of where I was as I was coming along to where he was struggling with that fight between Christianity and paganism because he loved both.